We're doing find an endpoint. We're still in 2.1. So before I gave you a line segment and we had to find the midpoint. But now I will give you one endpoint and one midpoint, or in the midpoint, and you have to find the other endpoint. Okay? So here it'll say find the coordinates of the other endpoint of a line segment where one endpoint is P, the midpoint is M, and we don't know Q on the other endpoint. Okay, so we have to find the endpoint. So the first thing that we do, well, for what I do, is I draw it because it helps me understand. So here's point P, and don't look at this. Here's point P, and here's the midpoint. And because this is the midpoint, point Q is on the other side. And the first thing I do is I just go, okay, let Q equal XY, because we don't know what the coordinates are, okay? So with the first step, we go, step 1, we go, okay, Q is XY, and we graph it. Okay, so just make it, it doesn't have to be a pretty graph, it just has to be something very basic. So then we have to find the X coordinate of our point, and we have to find the Y coordinate of our endpoint. So that's what we're going to do. So remember, when we had midpoints, we have to find the average of the points. So remember when we had like test 1 and test 2. Oops, test 2. So test 1 you got 80%, test 2 you got 95%. To find the average of those, you just go 80 plus 95 divided by 2. We're going to do the same thing, but with the coordinates. So I'm going to do X. So I'm going to go -6 plus X. It's okay, we don't know what it is. We have 2 points, so we're going to divide by 2, and that has to be equal to the X coordinate of the midpoint, like that. Then we have to solve it, solve for X. So remember, 2 over 2 is equal to 1. So here is a 2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. And if I extend it, I have a 2 over 2, which is equal to 1. But if I multiply this side by 2, I have to multiply that side by 2. So that's 1, and 1 times anything, well, it's just the same thing. So I get -6 plus X. Now I need to get X alone. So I can move this to the other side and do a +6, or I can just go opposite to both sides. It's the same thing. Now I have X equals 22. Now I'm going to do the same thing, but for the Y coordinate. So now I'm going to use 12 and Y. And there's 2 of them, so I have to divide by 2, and it's equal to -2. So now I have to solve for Y. Same thing, I have to get rid of the 2. So if I extend that, that's 2 divided by 2, which is 1. And it makes it disappear because 1 times anything is the same thing. But if I have to multiply that side by 2 as well. So now I have 12y, oops, not 12y. 12 plus y equals -4. Now I want y by itself, so I have to get rid of the 12. So now y equals -16. So now my point Q has the x value of 22 and the y value of -16. Okay, so let's do another example. Okay, so we don't have to look at our answer there. Find the coordinates of the other endpoint, and the endpoint is called Q, where one endpoint is P, and the other endpoints, or and the midpoint is M. So I'm going to just graph them quickly. So P is 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. There's my P. Let's write it down here actually. P is 5, 3. Now my midpoint is 6, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my midpoint. So if I'm going to have a line segment, my other endpoint is going to be on the other side of M, somewhere here. I have no idea where, so I'm going to call it xy. Okay, so I have to find my x coordinate, and then I'm going to find my y coordinate. So x, let's look at the x's, the x values. I circled them in pink. So I find the average. 5 plus x over 2 is equal to 6. So now I solve it, times it by 2, times it by 2. That's gone because it's 1. So 5 plus x equals 12. I have to get rid of the 5 because x wants to be alone. So then x equals 7. So now I'm going to do the y coordinate. Y coordinates are blue here. So 3 plus y over 2. And we divide by 2 because it's an average. And then it has to be equal to this point. So now we have to multiply by 2 to get rid of this 2. But we have to do it to both sides because it's a mizan. It's an equation. It's equal. So I have 3 plus y equals 8. Now I'm going to go minus 3, y equals 5. So now I'm going to take these 2 points and say, oh, q is 7, 5. So this point here, q, is really 7, 5. Okay, we found the end point of this line segment.